think the honey, for me, I know the honey, whatever floral content in it, can depict on how much flavor you got to put in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly. And my taste buds aren't the same as yours.
Right.
So, I mentioned Barry Brown. Barry's a member of our club, and Barry and I live, within 20 minutes of each other, and I can't tell you how many taste tests Barry and I have done to see what we think is right. We don't want it too much to the front. We want you to taste it a little later on. But there's just so many factors that go into the end product taste that, if it's different from last year, then I don't know, can't really tell you what caused it, but I think honey has a lot to do with it.
It does.
All right, so Byron, you're mixing your starter and then adding flavor if you're making flavored honey.
Correct.
Kevin, you're mixing your flavor and then adding the starter.
Yep.
So after we add the starter, how much mixing are we doing? At what temperature are we holding it? How long is this going to take?
So I'm different than Byron in that respect. I like to let my honey get down to around 75, 78 degrees, and then that's when I introduce my seed at that point, and then I'm completely mix that bucket to where it's the same color and consistency throughout.
So you're heating it to 110, letting it cool to 75. How long does that take? Overnight?
Oh no,
A few hours?
Depends. Like right now, this time of year in Nebraska, it's cold, so I can set it outside for a little while, and it goes pretty quick. In the summer, it takes longer, but I can just stick it in the deep freeze or the cooler or whatever to get it there. But yeah, I like that 75 to 78 degree range.
And then you're introducing your starter.
Yep. Mix that all
Mixing
in.
it thoroughly.
Yep. And then packaging.
So you're packaging straight right then. You're not mixing it.
Let it set for a little while to get some of the air out of it. So I don't worry too much about air. We do 600 pounds of creamed honey, about 600 pounds a month. My wife does shows 50 weeks a year, so we make a lot of creamed honey.
From someone who's done shows, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and my wife, bless her heart, she works a full-time job and does that.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. I'm very grateful I got her. So,
we were talking, I guess it was yesterday or earlier today, about the difference in honey show honey and production honey. Honey show honey, you can't have any air in it, and production, it doesn't matter that much. Once you get through the top layer, you've got perfect product anyway. Byron, what are your thoughts? You're doing a little different process. You're mixing for, how many days do you mix for?
Well, the machine just stays on.
Yours is almost like a never-ending soup pot. You just add more to it all the time. You've always got creamed honey mixing in there.
So typically what I do when I start, I like to make a lot of my creamed honey in the fall and winter because
it's easier to keep it cool.
It's easier to keep it cool, absolutely. And so if my air conditioning goes out, I've got a problem. So in the machine that we use, the Lyson, we use it to bottle our regular honey, of course decrystallize honey, mix buckets together, whatever. So I've got to get all of my, if I'm going to start making creamed honey, let's say for this conference, I'm going to get all my honey bottled for the rest of the year that I think I'm going to need to get me through January. And then I completely clean out the tank and start fresh. And I will start obviously in a bucket to get something going and then introduce it into the Lyson. And then the Lyson's turned on and it basically stays on. Unless I'm adding, if I need to turn the machine off or something, but other than that, it just keeps running indefinitely.
So you've got a never-ending batch when you're in the season of making cream honey. How often do you bottle out off of that?
Well,
just as needed?
I will bottle off until I'm out. In other words, I will make enough. I think it's going to satisfy my sales for the next several months, and then it'll go in cool storage and stay there, and then I'll hold back some in a bucket and just get back to bottling.
What temperature does your creamer keep the honey? Is it room temperature?
68,
68.
70.
And again, it's cutting on every 45 minutes.
That's correct.
And stirring and
24 hours a day for 99 hours. And once it's done, the only problem I'll ever have is if the power goes out, it won't reset itself, so you have to go back and start it again. So.
Now the problem if it does that, is it like concrete? As long as you keep mixing it, it's okay?
It's fine.
So if you forget to mix it, it doesn't set up so hard that it becomes a problem?
No, I see it every day. Our product doesn't get hard. It stays very, very soft.
What causes that?
That's a really good question.
Is it moisture content? I know that's got something to do with it.
Well, our moisture content is probably around that 18-ish area. I'd like to get a little lower when I can. So I do think that's the case, but we do batches of canola mixed with clover, and I know canola gets rock hard.
Yeah.
But maybe the clover helps offset some of that. And for the last 2 conferences, we've had really soft product that you can get the spoon in and get it out. You don't feel like you're having to grind at it. And Kevin mentioned earlier, his is a little harder, but when he takes it to all these shows in the summer, it softens up a little. Mm-hmm. Mine will soften up a little more. It may soften up too much. So, I always advise my customers that if they can leave it on their countertop. But hey, to preserve the product the way we discussed earlier, stick it in the fridge. It's the best way to keep it, for me. And if it's a little too hard for you, which it will not, just leave it on your countertop.
I've got some of your honey in my cabinet that's been there a long time. And cinnamon cream honey, of course, because that's my wife and my son's favorite. And it separates a little bit.
It will.
So it gets a froth at the top. You think that's a problem, but the froth is
really good.
It's the best stuff ever. It's really good.
If we see some jars, occasionally we'll have one of our stores put that product aside. This separated out.
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
Is the froth air? Is that what it is?
That is it. Also, maybe some hydrogen peroxide, possibly.
Okay.
Some of the froth that you see in honey.
Yeah.
I believe that's hydrogen peroxide.
Or maybe fine wax, or all that stuff mixed together, maybe.
So, that especially in cinnamon, the cinnamon is in that froth. Yeah. So you have to So I'll take that jar back, and I'll give them another one, and then I'll either scoop it out, put it in some buckets and remix it, incorporate it into a new batch, or I don't think remixing it and giving it back to them doesn't aesthetically look as good. So my goal is to sell an aesthetic, especially if you're doing glass.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really showing your stuff when you do glass. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see lines in mine from time to time. You're going to see it in cinnamon. You're not going to see it much in some of the lighter ones. The pumpkin spice or the cinnamon would pronounce that lineage more. But a lot of that's air trying to work its way up, and it crystallizes along the side of the glass, and they call that frosting. And so
it's delicious.
It's still good. I don't like the look of it. Yeah. I just feel like I failed for some reason.
The frosting part, I'm the same way. I don't like it.
I'm really anal about how it looks, but it's a good product. Nobody's ever complained about it.
Yeah.
I find it's more apparent when you don't get everything incorporated well.
True.
Yeah, I find it a bit more prevalent at that time.
So I try to make sure my pumpkin spice and my cinnamon, I do like to make sure most of that air is risen up, and then I start decanting from there. So, but yeah, that will happen. You'll get the separation, and It's not ruined by any stretch.
Kevin, moisture content. What moisture do you think is perfect?
We like to run up around 18. We found that when you start getting into drier honey, 16, 17, it affects the cream honey. It's a little harder.
It makes it harder?
Harder, I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion.
Nectar source also has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, higher glucose honeys are going to be harder.
Like canola is going to set up
clover,
real hard.
Yeah. We actually will add micro amounts of water too. If we got dry honey, we'll just, it doesn't take a lot,
No, it doesn't.
But you can add micro amounts of water to it. The water precipitates out of the honey when it's crystallizing, so you have to be careful not to have too much moisture in there, because you can get pockets in the batch that will actually ferment as that water precipitates out of that crystalline honey.
So, Kevin, you're doing something different. You've got a twisted creamed honey.
Yeah, now I was just talking about...
You're putting two different flavors in the same pot, but it's more like a Neapolitan ice cream where you've got them next to each other but not mixed together. So it's like a swirl in here.
Right, yeah, like an ice cream cone.
So cinnamon roll, what flavors are these?
That is cream cheese and cinnamon cream honey. So our cinnamon cream honey with cream cheese cream honey. So we use a non-dairy cream cheese, and that's stupid good, that cream cheese honey.
It sounds good.
I first made that, I called my wife on the phone. I was like, you got to come out here and try this.
That's amazing.
She's like, I'm working right now. Come out here.
So how much harder is that to make?
How do you, well, I had to reinvent the process a little bit. I had to make some special equipment so that I had two canisters with the different flavors in it, and then some piping and valving to keep them separated
until they go into the pot at the same time.
Yeah, and then even when it's going in, so this will get more air in it than just our single flavor, because the way we're weaving it into the container, as the container's rotating, and it's also entraining air into it. So when the container sets there, it'll actually have a circular row of bubbles here, and then it'll come in and it'll have another circular row of bubbles. It's kind of cool, but
so flavors. What's your biggest seller?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon?
Yeah.
And you said that your twisted is doing really well.
It is. Lemon blueberry, we're just about out of it. We brought 60 containers of each one, and the lemon blueberry, I think, was maybe 12
You
left.
said you've got a pomegranate strawberry is that your personal favorite?
I like all of them. This is probably my personal favorite, the cinnamon. It's hard to beat cinnamon.
Byron, what's your biggest seller?
I think our biggest seller is no doubt the cinnamon. We do sell a lot of regular. I'd say the vanilla and butter rum are a close third.
Butter rum?
Flavored butter rum.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Not getting tipsy off of it. So,
what kind of cinnamon do you guys use?
We've used.
I know there's. I'm not a foodie.
Yeah.
But I know there's Ceylon cinnamon. There's cinnamon from other parts of the world. Does it matter that much? Are you guys just getting them from a restaurant supply or a bakery supply?
Yeah, I've used McCormick, something that somebody can just get relatively easy.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of them out there. But cinnamon's good, especially on on a sweet baked potato.
Oh,
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I think I've done that before.
Yeah. I think I've made a post on that before.
My wife uses cinnamon a lot in chai tea.
Yeah.
I have a lot of customers that use cinnamon and vanilla in their coffee.
Yeah.
I don't do a cream honey at all, and my son and my wife's favorite is cinnamon cream honey. So whenever my wife's getting close to running out, she messages Byron on Facebook.
She just bypasses him.
Yeah, she doesn't even ask me.
I kind of feel bad.
Well, don't, because she's coming right to the source. She knows she's going to get it when she talks to you. Yeah.
She knows me pretty well. I'm forgetful.
Yeah.
I tend to get distracted easily.
She texted me last year to check on him because he won't answer his phone. I said, he's busy. He's got a headphone on. Yeah, we were directly across from each other.
Right on.
I think the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is crystal size.
Okay.
Very important.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to win a competition
No.
if you got a crystal size. If you can feel it, you're not going to win.
No.
So to get good starter, do you just buy cream honey that you like and build off of there, or do you make your own?
You buy it from Farris Farms.
Now we've sold 40 pounds of seed this weekend already, and we're out. I only brought 40 with me. It's gone. So people are already ordering. The seed. He's right. Seed is the key. It's the key.
I know Barry makes it with a mortar and pestle.
We did.
Yeah, you have to start with the mortar and pestle. You gotta, if you run out of seed, you gotta start. I mean, some people, they sell their seed, they gotta have that last $10 or whatever you sell
Their last bit of seed.
It's gonna cost you more than $10 in time to remake that. Trust me.
So to make seed, do you start with honey that's crystallized and then just grind it up and grind it and grind it and grind it and grind it until it's like pure white, or what?
Yeah.
How do you know when it's done?
Give you a
When
story.
you don't feel nothing on your.
Yeah. I mentioned Barry Brown earlier. Last year we had to make a new seed, and we determined that we needed another seed. Even though we'd held some back, we felt like we could do better. So Barry got out the mortar and pestle. I can't tell you how long it took for him to get where he felt like he was satisfied. It was pretty good. Not good enough. We got to do a little more. On and on. 2.5 weeks.
He worked on it for 2.5 weeks.
I said, Barry, we got to get going.
You could have just called me. I could have gave you some.
Could have shipped me some down.
Yeah.
But I mentioned Barry because Barry's very, very, very particular about, he loves cream honey, and Barry and I have talked. There's been times he's called me at work. Says, Barry, I got to go work. I've got to go work. We just keep talking about the products, But yeah, you got to have a really good seed, and the way to do that is probably the mortar and pestle. Just take you some granulated honey that's got a crystal in it, and just pulverize it down.
All right, so both of you've got some differences in process, but we both agree on moisture content around 18%. A honey that is not pure canola, or it's going to set too hard, and really good starter, really good seed.
And one more thing, patience. I'm the worst. I've learned patience over the years, but
Look what that lady's got in her hand right there.
I see it.
One of your shopping bags.
One of your shopping bags. But she's probably got our cream honey in her pocket. So, cream honey will teach you patience because you can rush the process and you just have to learn to wait. Of course, you need a plan. Creaming honey is a planned process. You have to, for me, I have to do it in steps.
Do you jar it and then let it set in the jar?
Yes, I do.
What do you store it in to keep it temperature stable?
Mid-50s is where I like to go.
Okay.
In storage.
And Kevin, I heard you say you've got a freezer with an Inkbird temperature controller.
Yeah.
That I've got one of those as well for a different purpose. But basically, it's a wall-mounted temperature controller that you plug a deep freeze into, there's a temperature probe that goes inside the freezer, and then instead of it being a deep freezer, you can keep it at 55 degrees, and it will only turn on the compressor whenever it needs to cool, and it'll shut the compressor off, turn the power off completely, and let it warm up. So you're jarring right after you mix the seed, and then setting it in there at what temperature?
57.
57?
Yeah.
And how long do you leave it in there?
It depends. Our cream honey is typically set firm enough in 4 days that we can pull it back out of there. Depends on the time of year. This time of year I'll pull it out quicker than I will in the summer. In the summertime I like to let it set a little bit harder so that we don't have that deterioration in the warm weather. And then we pack it in coolers and stuff to go to the show.
Does weather play a part, like humidity or anything like that? Do you notice any differences there?
Do you, Byron? I don't know if I do or not. I don't.
The product is sealed.
Yeah.
I think it's more temperature than anything.
Okay.
And we work so our honey house is air conditioned.
Yeah.
So I don't have like humidity. I'm not working in open air. So it's a climate controlled environment.
To keep it cool, then once you've got it set after 4 days, you put it into cold storage after that, or are you going through it fast enough that...
We have like a storefront type of refrigerator that we keep it in our store, a glass front refrigerator so folks can see it. And depends, again, how long we leave it in there, but we cycle through stuff fast enough that we don't worry about it too much.
Any other comments from you guys?
Do I have any other comments?
Anything else we need to cover?
I think we covered most of it without beating the topic. I think it's pretty good. Basically, we agree on most. We just do things different. I mean, how many beekeepers do the same thing, but we get the same result, for the most part, but we do it completely different.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do things, but beekeepers if you're a good beekeeper, you tend to be good at the same things. Like you can be bad at some things if you're really good at other things, like swarm prevention. If you're really bad at swarm prevention, you're not going to be good at honey production. So, those things just go together. And it sounds like you guys are paying attention to some of the same big things. Moisture content, how pure and clean your honey is to get started, the seed that you're using, that's one of the big keys, and letting it set up and all those things. You're kind of following the same guidelines, even though your processor is very different. So that's interesting to me. There's more than one way to be successful, but you need to pay attention to the same things.
It's fun. I enjoy making it. It's nice to be around people that enjoy making it. To run an opinion off of. Hey, what do you think about this? We probably need a few more flavors. We'll work on that, but we'll work on that between now and next year. So
right.
But that's really about it in a nutshell for me.
Yeah.
I appreciate you talking to me, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
It's great having you.
I hope this works out for you, and you see it get a lot of views and reviews and all that. It'll be good for you.
If I ran my YouTube channel like someone who was trying to do good with it, it would probably be different from what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have fun with it.
I know last year, I think it was me, you, and Josh Hager hung out together and did a 30-minute segment.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was real fun.
I told Josh I needed to get him and Billy Joe Adair on and talk about nothing but beard products.
My dad, you've met my father. My dad just thinks Billy Joe is the coolest dude. And I'm thinking, do you want Billy Joe to be your son? It's just, he calls him the bearded wonder.
Yeah.
He coined him that. And so, Billy, every time I see Billy Joe, I got to take a picture and send it to Dad. So he,
That's great.
Anyways, yeah, he's a good dude. Josh is too, for sure. Well, all right.
Awesome.